Welcome to the Credential as You Go initiative, which explores how to transform the nation's credentialing system to include incremental credentials, which builds a fairer system that recognizes and formally documents what learners know and can do. This session showcases some of the examples of incremental credentials. We hear from 4 institutions building some interesting incremental credentials. Our speakers are Timothy Thomas from Mohawk Valley Community College in New York, Anne Marie Marlier from Colorado State University Global in Colorado, Candace Freeman from Fayetteville Technical Community College in North Carolina, and Miguel Nino from University of North Carolina, Pembroke, also in North Carolina. We start with Tim Thomas, Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs at Mohawk Valley Community College in New York.
Our work with incremental credentialing really began back in probably around 2015. And I remember this very clearly. We had a very strong group of student leaders actively engaged with our student government. And they had the idea of, back 7-8 years ago, of badging and micro-credentials. That led to a number of great conversations between them and me and my office, which resulted in the development of an internal white paper, which they then presented to our college senate, that just outlined that this is space that Mohawk Valley Community College really has to get involved with. Our goal with all of these is that the incremental credentials will eventually lead to a degree, and that degree can then be transferred to somebody to allow the individual to continue their journey of receiving more and more incremental credentials that can lead to higher pay. So I think one specific example of incremental credentialing project that we're currently engaged with is in partnership with a local microelectronics company. And this microelectronics company has recently signed up for a New York State registered apprenticeship program. They are onboarding all of their incoming technicians into the industrial manufacturing technician trade, which is a very short-term trade. It's a 16-month-long time-based trade. We are providing the related instruction for that trade on one of the company's locations. The related instruction is a combination of 3 of our courses that are required courses for our mechatronics certificate program. At the completion of the 18 months, this technician, who was originally very green, now has a journey worker credential that's recognized by New York State Department of Labor and has obtained 9 credits that are all required coursework for our mechatronics certificate. At the completion of that entry-level trade, the intention of the employer is to take those technicians and put them into a secondary level trade of the electromechanical technician. This is a longer-term trade. It's a 4-year trade, but they'll have 18 months of advanced standing in that trade as a result of their industrial manufacturing technician training. We are going to support that trade with 23 additional credits, all required for our mechatronics certificate program. Sum total of the 29 credits and the 9 credits from the industrial manufacturing technician trade is 32 credits, which is all of the required coursework for our mechatronics certificate. So when the technicians complete the secondary level trade, they'll have 2 journey worker credentials from New York State and a SUNY recognized mechatronics certificate program, and they will have received additional pay each 6 months as a result of the contract that the company signed with the Department of Labor. This company also has an employer reimbursement program. So they intend to take the individuals who complete the 2 different trades and support their continued education with Mohawk Valley Community College in our electrical service technician degree. Our mechatronics certificate ladders into the electrical service technician degree program. So these employees will have 1 year of advanced standing in our degree program. At completion of this degree program, we've signed an articulation agreement with Alfred State College that allows completers of the electrical service technician degree to transfer into Alfred State's technology management BBA degree program, which is a completely online degree program, as full juniors. So these individuals can continue with their bachelor's degree, which is a business bachelor's degree. So it would allow a technician to transition from a highly technical job role into a business job role. Alfred State, in turn, has agreements with many different MBA programs around the state. So this population that started with an industrial manufacturing technician trade, entered into a secondary level trade, completed MVCC's certificate program and then associate's degree, and then transferred into a bachelor's degree, can receive a terminal degree of an MBA and rise higher within a company in the business world rather than the technical world. What our thought process is as we're packaging incremental credentials and fully understanding that we are not the masters of our own domain. We have to partner with both employers and other colleges in order to develop those pathways.
We now hear from Anne-Marie Marlier, Dean of Academic Programs at Colorado State University Global.
We looked at 2 parts to the project. So one of the parts is looking at how we might incorporate micro-credentials throughout a general education core. We are in the process of looking at how to revise that core. And one of the things that has really been important to us as we've looked at possible areas to revise is that there is a strong career connection. And so we looked, not only at different disciplinaries, but also we looked at NACE competencies. And so we looked at different, we call them ways, for lack of a better word right now. And those ways are pathways where students would develop a specific set of skills. So for example, we have one kind of way of thinking. So it would be much more looking at what are all of those skills that are really involved in that deeper level metacognition, problem solving skills, information literacy skills, things that we can very concretely name and work towards building. The other aspect that we've been working on is thinking about how we might embed micro-credentials into a more discipline-specific degree program. We were really focused on leadership. While there might be a very core group of leadership skills in classes, as students start to kind of define who they are as leaders and even think about the pathways they want to embark on in the rest of their career journey. For example, maybe they want to focus more on executive leadership because they know that's where they want to be, or they're going to be focusing more on community leadership. We could look at how do we pair a micro-credential that represents specific skills in some of those different emphasis or maybe specialization areas so that the students coming out of it with a core, but then also, hey, I specialized in, and I've got this micro-credential to show those very specific skills that I learned in these different emphasis areas.
Next is Candace Freeman, Medical Director for Medical Lab Technology at Fayetteville Technical Community College in North Carolina.
What we're doing right now is we are getting ready to bring on a clinical lab assistant track through our continuing education workforce development division of the college. Our program is set, our MLT program is set for 5 semesters, and we teach it in a high flex model, which means that students can choose to come to campus, watch asynchronously a recording, or either log in live during the main class. However, sometimes that doesn't work well for all students because they might not be able to commit to a full 5-semester degree program. So what we're going to do is we are intending on starting a clinical lab assistant track through our continuing education workforce development division starting in January. And each of these courses is going to come along with a micro-credentialing system, badging system, so to speak, where as students demonstrate a specific degree of proficiency in task performance, they'll be awarded a badge, and a collection of badges is going to equate to the award of a micro-credential. This is going to allow the students the opportunity to, if need be, leave the program with actual documentation that they have mastered a specific skill set and take that with them into the clinical laboratory. Now, if they decide to come back and finish their degree, they can bring that micro-credential with them, and so they don't have to repeat those courses that they've already taken. The other thing about this is that we are going to integrate a certificate and a diploma equivalency track with these micro-credentials. So as students start accumulating specific micro-credentials, they'll be able to use those and apply for a certificate in a specific part of the discipline or a diploma near the end of the program. And the last part of this is that students who complete this clinical lab assistant track, which is 30 weeks in length, will be able to bridge into the curriculum side of the college and enroll in the MLT program, complete a 2-year degree in less time than they would have completed if they started it initially. So it's going to really give a lot of options and increase opportunities for students who really need that. We're starting with accumulation of 2 specific badges. So students are taking the equivalent of about 7 or 8 MLT courses. And for specific courses, once they master the task associated with the learning objectives, they will be awarded a badge. Once the students actually obtain 2 badges in this specific course set, they'll be able to automatically be awarded the micro-credential. So the micro-credential, for example, might be micro-credentialing in specimen processing. And in order to get that micro-credential in specimen processing, they're going to need a badge in specimen collection, and they're going to need a badge in specimen accessioning, for instance. So it's more or less looking at the micro-credential as a macro level, and then the badges as a micro level. Or if you want to look at it as a learning goal for the micro-credential, and then learning objective for the badge. So to get the credential, we go through the badge set.
And in closing, we hear from Miko Nino, Director of Online Learning at the University of North Carolina, Pembroke.
Currently, we have 2 major projects. The first one is a certificate in project management, and we also have a certificate in online teaching excellence. Both of them started with the intention of adding an additional skill that we found was not necessarily covered in the curriculum, and that we found that it was necessary to add value to the education, not only of the students, but also of the community. The project management certificate started from the beginning as an open credential for the community, the students, anyone in the UNC system, very open. However, the certificate in online teaching excellence started internally for our faculty members, but then we saw a need for the students in the School of Education at UNCP to have a credential that will endorse them for online teaching. And we spoke with the dean, and they agree that this is a need that they had. So we move forward with awarding and starting a program to award credentials to those students who complete the program. Yes, the project management certificate is basically a credential that will prepare you to take the PMP, Project Management Professional exam. But also, when you want to sit for that exam and you want to get the PMP credential, the big one, endorsed by the Project Management Institute, you need to have 35 hours of formal training with project management. And we realize that many people don't have the opportunity of taking a course or finding an affordable option to comply with this requirement. So our goal was for you to be prepared to take the exam, but also to comply with those 35 hours. You earn a certificate upon completion of this course. It's completely online, asynchronous, and it's something that you can complete in approximately 6 weeks or so. So that's the first aspect of the project management certificate. We are in plans now of having that as an add-on for students at UNCP. So if students want to have this certificate, we are working on ways in which they can add that. The certificate in online teaching excellence, as I said, started for our faculty members as a response for COVID-19. We realized that many faculty members had never taught online. So during 6 weeks, they participate into this online asynchronous community of practice. And at the end, they receive a digital badge, a graphic, and a certificate for the completion of this certificate. Because we realized that students in the School of Ed might not have formal training teaching online, we decided to talk to the School of Education and offer a special cohort for students starting now. It's going to look very similar. It's going to have the same 6 weeks program online, community of practice, and then they get a digital badge. I speak for a certificate in online teaching excellence that really helped build a culture change. People are seeing online learning in a different way. Now, because of the certificate at UNCP, there are things that are part of the conversation that they were not part before. And I think that's something that in many institutions, it's something that you might need. You might need to start changing the way people see things, the way they value things. With online learning, that happens. So I think that the change is really, really notorious. You can see the before and after with this certificate. I think that this is not the future. This is the present. This is something that we have to do. The learner has changed, education has changed, the landscape of higher education is completely different from even 5 years ago. I will encourage everyone to take a risk with this kind of journey. And if you feel that it's something that cannot be done at a larger scale, that's a very common barrier and fear, I will say start with something. Start with a pilot, start testing the waters, and you will see that once you start building some success, once you start having some people going through that process, you have a case for your administration or for yourself to make it work at a larger scale.
Thank you, Timothy, Anne-Marie, Candace, and Miko. It's very exciting to hear about your programs. Please join us next week on October 13th to hear from more colleagues across the 3 states sharing their incremental credentials. Stay connected with the Credential As You Go movement as we continue to grow this work across the country, especially by visiting the website www.credentialasYouGo.org, which regularly has new materials. You also can sign up on the website for the newsletter, which keeps you informed on latest developments. Thank you.